Before we begin today's video, I just want to point your attention towards the complete redesign of my channel. So this was done by Belladonna Toxin, the same person that makes all of my channel thumbnails, never changed, been the same one since day one. And so she made this amazing new banner as well as the new channel logo. I think it's a much nicer look. It's a nice new direction for the channel as well, I think, because it looks a lot cleaner. I feel it looks a lot more professional. So if you haven't seen it already, do check it out. It's also changed on Facebook and Discord as well. So that's just something I wanted to mention before we begin. Fish meta is finally upon us, and a set breakdown that's not late is also right here. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the primary Melody extra booster that has all of the Bermuda goodness, as well as the 7 feature worthy cards from the trial deck that Bermuda's got as well, where the trial deck was actually winning tournaments without any of the booster set support. But I mean, that was good at the time, but right now the new Bermudas with primary Melody and all the Melody support are just absolutely insane, and their representation and the amount of tops that they have in standard, at least from the Japanese results, are borderline insane. Like, it's actually crazy. No deck should be topping this much. It's kind of just hard to imagine that it is to this level. But without any further ado, I want to just go over the cards in the trial deck so that we can kind of see what we have to work with from the very get-go. So there were 2 grade 3s in the set, the first one of which is Full Appeal Farlow. So this one does have a force marker, and her skill on Vanguard circles a continuous. If you call the rearguard this turn, she gets plus 5k. This also has, I mean, the premium kind of connotation that, like, if you do, I mean, you wouldn't play this over like Anj or something, but if you did like call something through your G-Guard effects, then she would get that plus 5k too. But I mean, that's just something I wanted to mention. But her act is really what makes her shine, in that once per turn you may counterblast 1 to give her plus 15k until end of turn, and if you have 5 rear guards on the board, then you draw a card as well, which is really good because this is just basically a counterblast 1 for a plus 1, and you also, you know, push out a magic number, and on top of that she gets an extra 5k for basically no reason, because Bermuda is going to always be calling rear guards. So really good grade 3, and just a really good kind of foundation for the clan already, and she looks like Rin from Fate. Then we have Graceful Prayer Amy. On Vanguard and Rearguard Circle, when she attacks a Vanguard, if you have exactly 5 rearguards, then she gains plus 15k until the end of that battle. So a 28k attacker without any force boosts, which is pretty damn good. So this already shows that, like, with Force 2, which I mean we didn't know at the time of the trial deck coming out, this would have some nice synergy, because you don't really need the extra force number to hit, you know, a significant number. I mean, you do, but the crit is much nicer here in that sense. Then we have the poster card of the trial deck, and also drawn by Fate Zero's key illustrator. So this is Choco Loveheart Lizelot. So she has a very unique skill in that in hand she has a continuous skill that she can be called as a grade 1. Do keep in mind though that you cannot ride her as a grade 1. She can only be called. So you have to first ride your grade 1, and then you can call her as a grade 1. But keep in mind to, you know, have another grade 2 in hand to ride up next turn and not accidentally, you know, just get grade stuck. However, the reason why you want to call her is because she has an on-place Vanguard and Rearguard Circle skill. You look at the top card of your deck and call it to Rearguard Circle or put it into your soul. However, this is a named once per turn, so you cannot call a second Lizelot and use this skill. So it really is once per turn, and a hard once per turn. But this is still really good because it's a +1 for no cost, and it's just really nice because, as we'll see, like from the rest of the cards in this set, really it just synergizes really well with everything. Like, you get a Cairo off of this, there's your booster. You get anything off of this, like, it's just gonna be good. So she's a really good card, and she gives you free advantage, and she makes like the grade 3 from the trial deck easy to fulfill as well, thus making it a really nice budget deck too. Then there's a 9k grade 2 Concealed Bitter Ennis. When called, you can counterblast 1 and soul blast 1, and if you do, then she gets plus 5k until end of turn, and if you call another rearguard this turn, then you draw a card. So yeah, good card, you know, does the same thing as the grade 3 more or less, with a little bit more cost, but overall very solid. Then we have Anybody Like Lati. When placed, one of your other units gets plus 5k until end of turn. Nothing too really special, but I guess it's good for that little push, but I mean, it's not that great. But then another grade 1 that we have is actually quite often played, which is Special Message Aurora. When placed on Vanguard or Rearguard Circle, you may draw a card and discard a card from your hand, but it's a named once per turn. Like, this might not seem that good on paper, but it's a filter, and I mean, that's obviously going to be good because you can just ditch whatever you don't need to draw something else, and that's going to help especially to dig into all your Melody pieces in your deck as well. And then the final card is Best of Best Isabella. When placed on Rearguard Circle, you may Soul Blast 2, and then if you do, 2 of your other rearguards get plus 5k until end of turn, and if you have 5 rearguards, you draw a card. Again, really good, because I mean, Soul Blast 2 might be a little bit hefty, but it gives it distributes 10k in power and an extra card in hand for a very easy condition, so overall the trial deck is a pretty good package. Now let's take a look at the main set, and we have 37 cards to cover in total. I am skipping over any of like the 10k vanilla, 12k vanilla, starters, triggers, etc, PGs, so those are not going to be mentioned, just going to be the cards that really, impact things, but we have a lot to talk about, and especially with Melody, it's going to be quite a bit of a discussion. So starting off, we have the poster girl of Melody herself, Colorful Pastoral Sonata. So Sonata has the Melody ability, and the Melody ability is basically just a keyword, same as like in G, for those of you that have been playing since G, and her skill is Melody Continuous Vanguard and Rearguard Circle. During your turn, this unit gets plus 5k. This is shared by all of your units with Melody. So that's what Melody really does. It just gives the same skill to every single Melody unit. So if you have 6 units on the board with Melody in their names, all of them get this plus 5k. Whether they're in the back row, front row, they all get the 5k. So as long as they have Melody. But then her second skill is what makes her the prime target to be ridden for your grade 3 ride, which is act Vanguard Circle once per turn. You may counterblast 1 and soul blast 1. If you do, you reveal cards from the top of your deck until a Melody card is revealed, and you call her to Rearguard Circle and shuffle your deck. This can be a occupied Rearguard Circle, but this is really good because you will hit this no matter what, basically, because you will always hit it because of, unless you really run out of every single Melody card, which you usually run 12 to 14 of, like, you will definitely hit something, and it's usually going to be something that you want to hit anyway. So whether it's, we're going to look at all the targets after this, but she is the best, like, grade 3 ride target, at least like the first grade 3 ride target, because she searches out all of your other pieces, and you can use her every single turn. Like, it's just really good. And like, she's Vanguard only, it'd be way too broken if she wasn't, but just really good card. Like, she makes this deck super consistent. Then we have Colorful Pastoral Cannon. So this is one of the not as good ones, I'd say. So her Melody skill is Vanguard and Rearguard Circle. When placed, you may Soul Charge 1. So this is shared by all your units with Melody. So when you call another unit with Melody, you can also Soul Charge 1 as long as Cannon is on the board. So this is okay. Because if you do want to ride her, you get enough soul for her second skill, which is an act. You may soul blast 3. Until end of turn, when your opponent would guard its battle door effect. So they have to guard with 2 or more cards at the same time. So she's okay, really not that used much, like just really not used as much, I think. Usually like a 1 of or a 2 of. But then we have another card that's usually a 1 of or a 2 of or a none of, actually, which is Serena. So Serena has a Melody skill as well. Vanguard and Rearguard Circle, when its attack hits a Vanguard, if your hand has 4 or less cards, draw a card. This is shared by all your units with Melody. So even if your Rearguards with Melody hit, as long as you have 4 or less cards, you draw 1. But that is going to be pretty rare. Her second skill is kind of what makes her like worth playing as a 1 of or something, which is you may counterblast 3, which is pretty hefty, and return 3 Melody cards from your drop zone to your hand. But that counterblast 3 is pretty heavy, so you do need to be careful whether you want to use that or not. Then the third best Melody card is Colorful Pastoral Fina. So her Melody skill is she gets Intercept, and when she intercepts, she gets plus 10k shield, so it's shared by all Melodies. So every single Melody you have is gonna get intercept, and it can also, like, when it does intercept, get the plus 10k shield too, which is just really, really nice. So that is absolutely amazing. Like, this is what makes it like not as bricky to run so many grade 3s, because a lot of your guard power comes from the Fina too, and that's just really good. Then she has a second skill as well, which is an act. You may soul blast 2, and for this turn's battle, so every single battle that takes place in this turn, your when attack hits effects activate even if the attack didn't hit. And there are quite a few cards that you run in this deck that do need to hit, so that's pretty nice because you can get this kind of like trade-off of like, no matter what, it will happen. So it's kind of like a Shadow Stitch effect, I guess, except even better. So Fina is really good, usually like a 3 of to a 4 of in most Melody decks, but overall just a very good card and a big consistency boost to the deck as well. And then finally, the second best Colorful Pastoral member, I guess, is Caro. Her Melody skill is Vanguard Rearguard Circle. This unit gets boost, and when it boosts, it gets plus 5k power. Every single Melody gets this. So every time you boost with any of your Melody grade 3s, they're an 18k booster. Plus, if you have Sonata, they're a 23k booster, basically. A 23k booster with an 18k attacker, and you usually run Force 2 with this deck, which, isn't legal in English yet, but in Japan you can already play Force 2s as I'm releasing this video, which means that those will be big columns that also attack with a crit. And that's absolutely amazing. And then on top of that, like, she has another skill, which I think is pretty good too. Like, if you do ride into her, like if you don't draw your Sonata or something, you can Soul Blast 2 to search for another Caro, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. This is good because like then you can just put her on the board and she'll already be a booster, like even if it's behind Vanguard, and like that's just really nice. It makes this whole thing so good. The fact that all your grade 3s get boosts just makes it like you can really like pull off running this like 12, 14 grade 3 build that most of the Melody decks are running around with. So Caro is really, really nice. And then the final consistency booster that we have is going to be Top Star Sierre. So not a Colorful Pastral member, but still a VR, the first ever grade 1 VR. Her first skill is a continuous. Your other rear guards in the same column as this unit cannot be attacked. That's already pretty huge because this forces your opponent to give you damage if you have 2 of them on the left and right back rows, or they have to retire her, which is like, you know, they might want to retire something else instead because her other skill is only on place. So her other skill is when you call her, you may Soul Blast 1 and reveal a grade 3 from your hand. Then you look at the top 7 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 melody from among them and put it into your hand and shuffle your deck. Again, this is a searcher. So like if you have all the grade 3s except for Sonata, you can reveal one of them and then still search top 7 and try to find that Sonata, because Sonata is really your primary best like grade 3 right target. So she helps to fix consistency, and like her skill happens every single time. It does cost a counterblast, but even when she's on the board, she's not a dead card. You know, you already used up her search skill, but then she prevents your rear guards from being hit too, which is just absolutely amazing. So those are kind of like your main melody cards and like the whole melody package. Now let's take a look at the LIRs, which are part of the Highlander build. So quickly, just gonna clarify, Highlander is the build in which you run every single normal unit is different. So you run one of every single normal unit, and then one of these LIRs you usually run twice. Usually it's going to be an Eska. And I should have also mentioned at the start of the video, but I mean, I'm not going to be going over all the alternate arts and the SPs. There's a lot of them. You can take a look at them yourself. Some of them are pretty jailbaity, so I mean, look at your own risk, I guess. But I mean, the only one that I think is really worth mentioning is Lura, but we'll get onto her in a little bit. So first, we have Diva of Atlantea Arena. Her skill, she is a grade 4, keep that in mind. Does have the force marker though, which is a first, but, I mean no, it's actually not a first, Exculpate had it too, what am I saying? But anyway, Irina's skill is, when you ride her, you reveal the top 10 cards of your deck, and if all of the normal units revealed have different card names, at the end of the first battle of this turn, stand this unit and shuffle your deck. So, she's going to be a 14k restander. I mean, with force numbers, it's going to become bigger, obviously, probably going to be a 34, because you have to ride grade 3 first, but this is cool. Actually, I commentated one of the VGCSs recently in which this card was actually, like, took an opponent from 0 to 6, so you might want to check that out. But this card is good, like it's the restander, and it doesn't like fizzle away or anything, so you stay on grade 4 with the 14k base if you don't win that turn, which, I mean, you usually don't, but I mean, in this case, like, you know, it can happen. Then the second one, which is like the best SP art that Bermuda has ever gotten, is an Unparalleled Ingenuity Laura. Laura's skill is also on ride, all of them are on ride. Reveal 10 cards from the top of your deck, and if all the normal units revealed have different card names, call any number of the revealed cards to rearguard circles, and they get plus 10k power until end of turn, shuffle your deck. So here it's like, if you've had no resources until now and you haven't plussed anything, from those top 10, you can really build a full board of like, you know, 2 grade 3s or like grade 4s, grade 3s, grade 2s, whatever, and the 3 grade 1s in the back. But they also get the plus 10k boost, so she's basically like a free soul saver. Just really, really good. And I mean, she's just a good card. Like, you do want to run into her, especially in those scenarios, or like if you're playing against something like Blade Master in the future, or in the Japanese format, like this will definitely come in as an important card. And then finally we have kind of the card you want to be riding first of all the grade 4s is Heart Monopoly Aneska. That's the reason why you run 2 of her. When placed, reveal 10 cards on top of your deck and shuffle your deck. If all of the normal units revealed have different card names, acquire 1 Imaginary Gift Force, Axle, and Protect in any order. So this gives you a new circle, which is pretty important to note, so now you can actually fill up more circles with Laura skill. But another thing to note is that you can choose, I mean, at least in Japanese and soon in English too, whether you acquire Force 1, Force 2, Axle 1, Axle 2, Protect 1, Protect 2, but when you ride your first Force grade 3, if you choose to acquire Force 2, then you will also be forced to acquire Force 2 with an Eska skill, so keep that in mind. But this is obviously really good, because you get a PG, you get an Axle circle with a draw if you want, and then either a 10k boost, like an extra one, or a extra crit, you know, all that you already had. So this will usually be your third one, but Aneska is really good. Like, she is really an amazing card. Do, you know, pay attention to the fact that it always says if all of the normal units revealed. So triggers don't matter. You can literally check like you can check like Actually, if all top 10 cards are all triggers, the effects still go off because it's all of the normal units that is the condition. So whether your triggers are the same, it doesn't matter. You don't have a choice anyway because there's only one of each kind of trigger, except for draw, but I mean, you're going to be running the draw PG anyway. But so just make sure your normal units are all different. There are deck lists online for this kind of deck, so make sure you do check that out. Alright, and now let's go through all the supporting cards in terms of grade 2s and grade 1s, etc. So we have Greenness Energy Salia. Her rearguard circle skill is when she attacks and isn't boosted, you make an almost 1, and until the end of the battle, increase or decrease her power to match one of your Vanguard's powers. So it matches at that time, so if you gave some triggers, then it does add that, keep that in mind. But it's pretty nice, like it's a cool gimmick that it can just like build up like that. I mean, with Sonata and like all the help that her supporters kind of give, this is going to be pretty huge. Also, if you run Force 1s, I think she won't be used in decks that orient on Force 2, so do keep that in mind, but overall a pretty cool card. Then, Blue Silver Diva Broom. During your opponent's turn, she gets plus 5k. Very cool, because this is honestly really nice skill because it makes her harder to hit. She'll usually survive 2. And then Rearguard Circle, when she hits a Vanguard, you can count almost 1 to draw 1. With Fina's skill, this will also go off if you don't hit. So, pretty good card as well. Usually run as like a 2 of, I think. Then the next card that is either run as like a 4 of, or people just don't run her, is Masterly Cover Minne. So she has an on-call skill. You may count almost 1 to draw 2 and return 1 card from your hand to your deck and shuffle it. But if you don't have a rearguard with the same name as your Vanguard on your rearguard circle, then you have to return 3. So this is really for Melody, obviously. Like, Melody usually has the same, like, you know, another rearguard that's the same as the Vanguard on the board, but like, you definitely want to have that, otherwise you're gonna -1 actually. So for that +1 from this card skill, you really do need to have the extra copy of the Vanguard on your rearguard circle. Then we have Favorite Child Idol Eno. This one's pretty often used as well. Vanguard rearguard circle skill, during the battle she attacks a Vanguard, she gets +2k, but as a grade 1, I mean, it sometimes does go off actually, especially in early game. But then her second skill is, when your Vanguard's attack hits a Vanguard, you may return her to your hand. So pretty cool, because in early game you can kind of push a bit with her, and then as long as your Vanguard hits, you can bounce her back. So that way it's pretty good. But even if you call her as a booster, like, she just comes back to hand, and then you're able to guard with her, and you're usually going to be boosting with your grade 3s anyway, as long as you have Karos to, like, you know, fill the field with, so that's definitely going to be pretty good. Then we have Fluffy Wonder Preenez. When your deck is shuffled by your card's ability, she gets +5k until end of turn. It's an auto skill, so it does go off every time the deck is shuffled, so that's pretty good. But I mean, this is going to be better in some decks than others. I guess it's kind of okay even in Melody, just because, like, you know, you shuffle from Sonata, then you shuffle from Seer, you might shuffle from something else on top of that, but I mean, those are the main two. But I mean, this card really depends on your build, I think. And then arguably the best double rare outside of the perfect card, I guess, is a Rainy Tear Stetsa. Stetsa is really good because at the end of the battle that she boosts the Vanguard, you can retire her to draw 1, which is already, you know, pretty okay. But then you can counterblast 1 and put a grade 3 from your drop zone on the bottom of your deck to draw another 1, which is nice because all those lost pieces you can actually recycle, because even though they go on the bottom of your deck, you do shuffle with things like Sonata and with Sierra, so you're able to kind of, like, you're recycling them with Stetsa, and then you can put them back into your hand with Sonata and Sierra in that aspect after you've shuffled already, so that just makes her even better. So if your opponent does get rid of stuff like your important Caro, or like I don't know, if you have, 4 Sonatas or something, but I mean, the Caros are pretty important in that sense, so like if you need to bring back a Caro or something like that, Stetsa is here to help. Now going down to the rares, we have Shapely Eyes Ruche, or Ru. If you drew a card during this turn by your card's ability, she gets +5k. Includes draw triggers, which is pretty nice, but doesn't include drive checks. This continuous, so it only happens once, so 15k and that's it. But I mean, pretty okay, maybe for the like trial deck variant of the deck. Then we have Super Hit Medley Pattery. Vanguard Rearguard Circle act, you may Soul Blast 1 and she gets +5k until end of turn, but if she's on Rearguard Circle, you can also Counterblast 1 to give your Vanguard +5k until end of turn. Usually won't be used. If this was until end of your opponent's turn, now then we're talking, but otherwise, not so good. Devoted Time Inasta. If you have a grade 3 or greater unit in the same column as this unit, she gets boost and can intercept from the back row. Pretty cool, pretty cool. I mean, she's, like, you're usually gonna have this in Melody, obviously. She looks like Medusa from, like, I mean, like Granblue Fantasy, Shadowverse, like all those things, but she looks good, and I think she's actually okay, but your grade 2s are pretty damn packed. Like, you're running like 4 Lieselot, and then you're probably running 4 of the Minne Girl, so then it's like, your space is really tight between this card and like the next 2 that I'm gonna go over. So the next one actually is gonna be Friendly High Touch Skjoltja? Scholta? I don't know, but anyway, when she attacks, if your opponent called a total of 2 or more guardians during this turn, she gets plus 15k until the end of that battle, which is pretty cool because as long as you keep her until the last attack, this probably will go off, especially in late game. Like, I don't think you should run 4 copies of this, but as like a 2 of, a 3 of, you know, maybe even a 1 of, if you're feeling lucky, she is definitely pretty alright. So I think for that reason, it's worth to run her because 15k boost is pretty huge. That's an extra like trigger they have to guard with, and so it's definitely important. So she is definitely a cool card, I think. Then the other card that some people run, some people don't, is Reverberator DS. Continuous rearguard circle, she gets plus 5k for each of your grade 3 rearguards. This goes off in your opponent's turn too, keep that in mind, and like in Melody, we all know this is going to be like a plus 10, plus 15, plus 20 even, so 28k rearguard on your opponent's turn is pretty damn huge. And then on top of that, in Guardian Circle, if you have a grade 3 rearguard, she gets plus 5k shield. This isn't just if you like intercept. If you guard with her from hand and you have a grade 3 rearguard, she's also a 10k shield. Kind of like Miracle Dandy in that sense, but not as strong as him, but she does make up for that with that first skill too. So she is played pretty often actually, so I wouldn't undermine her either. So this is probably going to be like your 3rd grade 2 slot in that sense. Next we have Lovable Spontaneity Vol. Rearguard circle when placed, if you called another rearguard during this turn, she gets plus 2k until end of turn. So this is kind of similar to the trial deck style cards. And then her second skill is during the battle she boosts, if you have 5 rearguards, she gets plus 5k. Again, kind of meant to be easily incorporated into the trial deck for the budget players. Then we have Admirative Solo Atri. If you have no other units in the same column as this unit, she cannot be chosen or retired by your opponent's card effects. So she can be attacked and is retired when hit. They do specify that. But like, I guess it's somewhat nice in some fringe scenarios, but right now I cannot really think of one particular, so let's just leave it at that. Then we have Sugary Lordling Ravur. When she attacks or boosts, if your opponent called a total of 2 or more guardians during this turn, she gets plus 10k until the end of that battle. So kind of similar like a grade 2 that we looked at, but this time only 10k. But keep in mind that your grade 1 space is really tight because you're running a lot of grade 3s, that's already restricting your options, but you run like 3 or 4 Sierra, and you're running like 3 or 4 of the Filter Girl from the trial deck that we mentioned, so that's already like up to 8 slots of your grade 1s taken up. And then you want to run Stetsa, like 3 or 4 copies too, so keep in mind that there's still a grade 1 like double rare that we went over earlier that like wants to be part of those spots too, so keep that in mind when we're looking at all these other kind of like more filler cards. Then we have Equable Career Spiana. When placed on rearguard, you may return a card with the same card name as a grade 3 card on your Vanguard or rearguard circle from your drop zone to your deck. If you did, you shuffle your deck and countercharge 1. This is nice. This I think is a strong contender for one of those grade 1 slots because it gives you countercharge. The deck counterblast at least once per turn, so I mean that's, you know, you do want that countercharge at some point, so you would maybe run like a 2 of in terms of running Spiana, but do keep in mind that she's kind of a late game card because you do need to have a grade 3 that is the same as something that's on your field in your drop zone, so that is pretty specific. Then we have Thoria. She's basically like Stetsa but tries to be a Magus. When the attack shape boosted hits a Vanguard, you can retire her to look at the top card and put it on top or bottom and then draw 1. So basically just OTT support in Bermuda, but an inferior Stetsa. Then we have Est, sadly with no Catria or Pala, but her skill is, when placed on rearguard circle, you can discard a total of 2 grade 3 cards with different card names from your hand, search your deck for up to 1 grade 4 card, reveal it and put it into your hand and shuffle your deck. This is obviously very, very crucial for the Highlander deck. This is your main searcher, and you're usually running like what, 5, 6 grade 3s in the deck, so this is gonna be pretty good because like if you do run like draw into those first before drawing into your grade 4, since you can't G-assist for grade 4s, you will need to use something like this. So even though she's like a 1 of, it's still an important card for Highlander. And don't forget, like, part of the reason why I'm looking at all of these is because they're played in Highlander. Then we have Strasika. She looks like the female like main character from Grand Blue Fantasy. If you have a grade 3 or greater unit in the same column as this unit, she gets intercept and can intercept from the back row. So 10k intercept, again, grade 3 or greater, that does imply your grade 4s. Then we have Paparla. During your turn, Vanguard and rearguard circle skill continuous. If you have a rearguard with the same card name as your Vanguard on your rearguard circle, she gets plus 15k power. I mean, on a grade 2, we already kind of have this, but with a different condition, but she's okay. But, I mean, nice arts, I kind of want to mention for that. Kind of same thing goes for Uvil. If another rearguard was called by your card's ability during this turn, she gets plus 5k. Again, more oriented for the trial deck build, but her art is super nice. Then Ostina. When she attacks a Vanguard, if all the units on your Vanguard and rearguard circles have different card names, she gets plus 5k until the end of that battle. This is good in Highlander, like obviously geared towards Highlander because you're usually gonna have, basically always gonna have different card names, so she will be a 15k attacker. Then we have Radue. If you have a rearguard with the same card name as your Vanguard on your rearguard circle, she gets plus 2k power and plus 5k shield. So this goes off in your opponent's turn too, so in that sense she's a 12k rearguard, but again, we have a grade 2 double rare that already does this in a sense too, and even better. We have some random soulless support, I guess, which is in Lashar. So if your soul has 2 or less cards, gets plus 2k. If it has no cards, gets 5k instead. Nothing too important, let's just move on. Then we have Syrah. If you have 5 or more cards in hand, she gets plus 10k on both turns, which is pretty okay. So 18k, grade 2, but again, you know, if this is in like not the Melody build, then sure, she's better than the other grade 2 we looked at with 8k power, but otherwise, that one is much better in Melody. Piena. Pienas in Lithuanian means milk. When your Vanguard is placed, she gets plus 5k for until end of turn. Cool, I guess. Yeah, nothing too special, just wanted to make the milk joke, that's literally it. Then we have another countercharger, but not as good as the previous one I think, in Rallon Tess. At the end of the battle she boosted a Vanguard. If you have no face-up cards in your damage zone, retire her to countercharge 1. So, has to have no face-up damage, which is a pretty, like, hard condition to fulfill I think, so kind of fringe. We have already a better card than this in this set itself. And then we have Dance Queen Prach. If your hand has 5 or more cards, she gets plus 5k, so 12k continuous, very cool. Finally we have Max Shout Sulye. When your drive check reveals this card, you may put a trigger from your drop zone on the bottom of your deck. At first I was hoping this would be like on top of your deck, that'd be like really sick, but instead it's just a wasted grade 0 slot. Kinda wanted to just mention that, but that's literally all, not even worth the effort. And that is actually it for this whole set. So this is going to be Bermuda season for quite a while. Bermudas are absolutely insanely powerful. They're not necessarily hard to play either, but they are hard to beat. That's kind of the thing. But like, Bermudas are super strong. Melody is insanely consistent. Highlander is more of a fun deck, but like, Melody is just super consistent. You have Sonata to fix your consistency issues, and then backed up by the Ciel, and then on top of that, like, Caro just like makes all your numbers hit huge all the time, and then Fina adds extra pressure and consistency too. Like, all these cards are just so good. It doesn't have to do anything broken to be so broken. It's just that they all connect so well and synergize so well, and just like give so much free power and like just stacking for no reason that like makes them so good. So that is gonna be my breakdown for the Bermuda set. So for this year, you know, it is a yearly support clan, and I think, you know, world-class card fighters really put it best. Like, with this set, they had to not only sell the original, like the usual Vanguard anime, but they had to sell 2 animes at once, because they also made the Colorful Pastral Bermuda anime at the same time, based on all these new characters. So that's, you know, just an important thing for Bushiroad at this point, but this set is definitely selling super well. The deck is really popular, as it is a top meta deck, and it's going to stay that way for at least a good few months. So if you are picking up the deck, definitely worth it, because it's going to really give you your bang for your buck for a long time. But anyway, that's going to be it for me today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts about this set, the new graphics on the website. I mean, we also saw it for this video too, and any other thoughts that you may have. So do leave them in the comments. Check out the stuff in the description. But as always, I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.